All right, hello folks, and welcome to, I don't know if you want to call this episode 1 or episode N, because what we're going to work on today is taking JitterTed's TDD game, which you may or may not be familiar with. If you're not familiar with it, then you can go ahead and go to tdd.cards. And let's see, where's the button? There it is. And TDD, the JitterTed's TDD game is a physical board game that I've been shipping for a while. Hey, Jonas, welcome. Yeah, new project. And obviously, one of the issues is if your colleagues or people you want to play with are remote, it's a little hard to play because it is a physical game. Turns out when I was originally working on the game, besides sort of the physical prototypes that I was working with, I did start an online version, mainly intended, so this was pre-pandemic, mainly intended to help me get people who were not physically near me to help me test out the game. Then the pandemic happened, all sorts of stuff happened, and did finally ship the game physically a couple years ago. But because lots of people are still remote, folks have told me, hey, we'd like to play this, except our teams are remote. The people we'd like to play with are remote. So here we are. I've been working on other projects that were sort of more important to my coaching business, like Ensembler with a participant timer, but now that that's pretty much done, I'll probably still do a little bit of work on that. It's time to start a new project. But as I mentioned, I already have some code, which I literally have not looked at in, I don't know how long, certainly years. Originally, the design of the code was Spring Boot on the back end. And so I will have to upgrade that because I'm sure it was, we'll take a look at it. It's certainly not Spring Boot 3. I'm not even sure if it's Spring Boot 2. We'll see. But on the front end, I was using Vue.js, which I really liked. As I've been recently using HTMX, especially with WebSockets for the participant timer, I decided I don't think I need Vue.js, because one of the issues with a front-end framework like that is it's kind of, I was able to write tests for it, but all the state is for sure 100% on the server. And in that case, why sort of try to replicate it onto the front end? Even though Vue.js, I think, is of the sort of front-end frameworks or libraries, whatever you want to call them, is, I thought, sort of the best suited for at least the way my brain works. It's still got thousands of dependencies in an ecosystem that I'm not really familiar with, and I just don't want to deal with that. Plus, I'd like to really make it much more testable. So I think, so again, sort of based on my experience with HTMX and how basically easy that made things, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pretty much rip out the front end and start over with the front end. Yeah, and Jonas apparently likes it too. Yeah, I think it's a really, if you need a front end, I think it's one of the things I really liked about it is, it's sort of progressive. Like, you didn't actually have to adopt the whole, ecosystem. Like, you could actually just bring it in as JavaScript and it would help you with things. Now, I still may use sort of what you might call a web components. So there's Shoelace, there's Alpine. So there's all these things that are, things that will make the application kind of nicer, things that you want the front end, the browser to do. But for those, I'll probably use something like Shoelace. So do I plan to use on time leaf for the front end? Yes. The question is how much of time leaf will I be using for the front end? So I basically threw together a mock-up. So let's bring that up. Where is it? Where's the mock-up? That's not it. There it is. So this is the mock-up I created. This is actually sort of about 2/3 of this was done in, I'm blanking on the name of the app. So there's several online. So one of the things I was thinking of before, like trying to figure out how to write this from scratch, is why not just use something like Tabletop Simulator or one of 3 or 4 other sort of board game online platforms, as it were. This one, I basically put together, I don't remember which one it was. I'll have to go look. But it just wasn't flexible enough in terms of layout. Like there's actually quite a, like this one was mostly about card games. And so you can see that there's sort of this workspace here. And that's it. And then you have like your, and so it's very, this is kind of one of the things with the general platform is it's limited. Tabletop Simulator just seemed like it was going to be a lot more work than I wanted. Plus, to be quite honest, this is not going to be free. So if you want to buy my physical game, it's $100 or so. And if you want to play the online version, there's going to be something, right? I haven't even thought deeply about the pricing. Likely if you buy the physical game, you'll get some amount of free time on the online version for, so there's all sorts of things, but eventually this I'm going to charge for it. It is my intellectual property. And so I will be charging for it. Now, the source code is interesting because it is not open source in the sense that you are free to do with it as you please. But it is source available, and I'm going to stick with that. So that way you can look at the source. You're just not allowed to take it and run it on your own. Honestly, if you do that and I don't find out about it, but hopefully your ethics will drive you to do the right thing. All that's to say is I looked at various online services that allow you to take a board game, put it online, and I just felt like they were either going to be a lot more work than and a type of work that I don't like doing. Plus, again, like because I want to charge for the service, none of those are going to work for me. So I basically took the sort of put as much I could into one of the services and found that it just wasn't flexible enough for what I needed, but it was good for creating a mock-up. So this is the board, right? So this area here, this is the board. You can sort of see the pawns that are in the spots. And there are 2 decks. So we'll see this as we go through the game. There are 2 decks. There's the action cards. So there's the pile where you draw from, what's called the draw pile. There's the discard pile for that. And then there's another deck that is the draw pile for what are called test result cards. And there's a discard pile for that. And each person, as they play, has basically what I've been calling sort of a workspace. And that's where you draw your cards into. You get 5 cards. A turn is based on playing or discarding 3 cards. That's a turn. And then the scoring is basically commits. How many times you sort of, you go around you start here, you go around, and if you make it back to here, right, you commit code, then you get a point. And there are basically ways to mess that up by taking on risk by not writing tests. So again, for more details and a walkthrough of this, go ahead and go to tdd.cards, and there's a video that has that. And so each person has commits. There's risk you take on. There's two different types of risk. The other thing is there are variations in terms of the rules. So from a structural standpoint, there's kind of two ways I could do this. One is, here are the elements, right? A deck that's shuffled, another deck that's shuffled, a workspace that can hold cards, player pieces, and things like that. And then in terms of enforcing the rules, I can leave that up to the players. The advantage of that is that's less work for me. The disadvantage is, well, you can then do whatever you want. But in fact, another advantage is there's quite a few variations of the rules that I've basically collected as I've played this with people and watched people play it. And so that flexibility, I think, is a good thing. Eventually, I might decide, hey, here's the out-of-the-box rules that are enforced. But that's something that I'll add on later. So my primary goal is really to be able to play it remotely and let the players say, hey, your turn is up, my turn, you've played 3 cards, that's your turn. Oh, we ran out of cards, let's ask the system to shuffle the deck, things like that. Good evening, Astrid. So that's the minimum for that. Then, of course, there is the actual, how do people join? How do people find games? So there's a whole, what in larger games is referred to as sort of matchmaking. But there's no matchmaking really here, because at least right now, I haven't thought about anything like, oh, you get experience points and you're an advanced player, so maybe you only get playing against advanced other players, all that stuff. Like that's later on. Yeah, advanced matchmaking with ratings. No, maybe it'll happen. But right now my concern is more about, I've got 3 or 4 people who'd like to play, maybe 6. And we want to play online. Yep. All right, congrats, Astrid. Maybe we'll violate some hexagonal architecture. Right, vote with a ladder. Yeah, I just shipped out another copy of the physical game, so I'm more than happy to have a digital game because it's easier to sell. I actually do quite a bit of prep work that I'll be hiring my son to do some of. Because when you get these tiles, they are actually punched from basically a rectangular piece of chipboard, but you can only get them punched from certain vendors, or if you buy enough. And I don't sell enough to have enough inventory, so instead they use laser cutting. Laser cutting is great. Except it leaves soot behind, right? Because it's literally burning the edges, and so you have to wipe off the soot. If you've ever gotten a game like that, that was sort of custom made, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you're lucky. But as a service to my customers, I basically clean them off for you, and that takes like 15 minutes to do. So. Yeah, taxes are pretty up there. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You get import taxes or VAT or all sorts of stuff. Luckily, I basically outsource that stuff. There still probably are taxes for online things. I don't know the rules anymore. I looked into a bunch of this stuff, but it will be easier to get to. 100% agree, Astrid. Like, if you have a choice between playing it in person versus playing it online, you will have a much better time and much more interesting discussions in person. absolutely 100% agree. I've experienced both. I've played this remotely because I could, and I've played this in person. And yes, in person is way more fun, but also interesting from a discussion standpoint. But if you have a choice between nothing and the digital version, well, then the digital version I think is better. Yeah. Yeah, it gets pretty close to 200 with shipping and so on. Yeah, it's not cheap to do that stuff. Hope maybe you can get a company to pay for it. I do get a fair number of companies. They'll buy 2 or 3 copies, and so then you sort of amortize the shipping at least, but you still got to pay all the taxes. But $500 to them is nothing. Yeah, I will not be involved in any kind of trying to work around taxes. All right, so let's do a little bit of planning. Let me. Where's my TL draw? There it is. So let's go. Add a new page, and this is. I think games are great for fostering and provoking interesting discussion. I mean, honestly, that's why I created the game, is to foster both learning of predictive TDD as well as discussing the trade-offs for things around the process. And it sort of puts it, though, in sort of a fun environment, as opposed to sort of, all right, let's sit down and discuss this stuff. So, I don't want that color. There we go. So I'd say there's well, let's start. There's the core game itself. So I'll put that in the center. Then there's starting and joining games. Then there's what I'll consider sort of, account player management. So registration, auth, etc. What else? I think those are sort of the main, if I were to put this in DDD context, those are probably the main subdomains. So let me just click over here. Yeah, persistence. I mean, persistence obviously will be there, but I'd sort of put that under sort of the core game mechanics. I'm trying to think of like what are the major areas from a functional standpoint. That's more of an implementation detail. So sort of as part of player management. Let's do this. So in here is groups. Whoops. Oops. No, I don't want that. Groups, teams. So yeah, so the groups and teams are more about, I want to be able to find games part of like we're in the same company or whatever, and we want to play a game. Oops. Ah. The subscription stuff. All right, so that's kind of enough of that. So core game mechanics. So it's basically the front end. And so while I'll probably pretty likely be using Timeleaf for the main sort of the main HTML page, I've been toying with the idea of I want something a bit more component-like. Like I want there's already a project by Thomas, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Is it Shuli? So he has this thing called Spring View Component. Let me put that in here. Maybe if he's lurking, he can tell me how he pronounces his name. I actually should go re-listen to one of his talks so I can figure out how to pronounce his name. So he has this thing called Spring View Component, which I've been looking at, and I'm all for like using stuff that already exists, but there's something about it that just doesn't fit the way I'm thinking about my game. So I'm probably not. The other thing is it's a bit too integrated with Spring. So there's aspects of it where I want to keep Spring, at sort of arm's length, that this doesn't quite fit for me. But the idea is that I want like this concept of higher level components, for lack of a better term. It is a component. Like a card would be a component, and there are things you can do with it. It knows how to present itself. It has an image for the front and the back. They can be grouped into a deck. They can be put into a workspace. But mostly it's about how does it get presented. So it's tied to a concrete card in the domain, but this is more about how is it presented. And so the HTML for how it gets presented and how you might zoom in on it. So for example, like this card up here, that's not going to be readable at that size. It's great for when you're sort of in play and you know what's going on, but if you want to look at the card and read its instructions, you're going to need to zoom in. And so that I want to have a component for that. For things like rolling the dice. I want, basically a component for that. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. And one of the things that I saw when I was doing something as simple as the ensemble rotation timer is I was sort of halfway there to componentizing things like buttons, where they would have things like if you click on them, what happens? That kind of thing. Yeah, so view component works both with time leaf and JTE. I want to like JTE, except I don't understand why they made it so that it's no longer a natural HTML template. That was for better, I think why time leaf is so great is I can take a time leaf template and I can look at it in a browser. But because JTE sticks in other stuff that's not HTML, to me, that's a big step backwards. That's why JSPs got into trouble, is because you started being able to write all sorts of code and you could never see how it looked until you ran it through the server. I don't like that. So that's why I'm not crazy about JTE. So I'll probably be using time leaf certainly for the main page, and possibly for some of the components if they start getting overly complex. But it's not that hard to write this stuff, and is this because I'm all about making stuff testable. I am going to be optimizing for testability. And so the other thing is because this is a real-time game in the sense that people will do things and nobody's going to refresh their browser. So therefore, I am going to use WebSockets. Therefore, the HTML I'm sending around is not going through HTTP. It's going over the WebSockets, which means that a lot of the support that TimeLeaf or other frameworks like Vue Component have don't really help me because they're not going through HTTP. So I'm not getting GET requests. I'm getting just nothing. And so for all those reasons, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff on my own. Hey there, Potato. Potato. Yo, welcome. So that's sort of a fundamental piece of this. Oops. So I want, so it's WebSocket based. And I'm using HTMX over WebSocket. Oh, yay, welcome. So shoelace for low level sort of, components, and then basically custom for custom game elements. Hold on. Yeah. Obviously, we'll test drive this, obviously, or maybe not obviously. We'll use the testable architecture. What else? So time leave for so time leave for main game page. So stuff that's not the game, right? So all the stuff that's in, starting and joining games, account player management, all that kind of stuff, that'll just be regular time leave because that'll just be regular, good old HTTP. But it'll be custom components for the rest. Because the other thing is there's just not a lot. So there are some pieces where there's sort of data inside of some kind of element, like here, right? Keeping track of the commits and the risk. Those are probably used, pretty much basic components. But everything else is almost all images. So the HTML will be pretty much, here's a reference to an image, and just render that. But there will be buttons, and those HTML things like the cards and so on. You want to be able to do things with them. One thing I haven't figured out is the mechanics of how that's going to work. So drag and drop is probably the most obvious thing, but I dread having to do that. And so I have to look a bit more about what the underlying components support, because if I don't have to write that from scratch, I'd rather not. But we'll see. We'll see. I think that's all I've got for this part. Yeah. All right, so let's go take a look at not ensemble timer. Let's go find the project. Where is it? As I said, I haven't looked at it in a long time. There it is. Let's see. So I have not modified this since February of 23. Let's let this load. What's updated? Some plugins. Yeah, I don't care about those. So you can see there's actually quite a bit here. I honestly don't remember where I left off, but there is quite a bit here, and you can see I've got the adapter, and there's quite a bit there, and we've got the front end here as a separate module. I'm not even sure if I can if this is like runnable, so we'll find out. Stupendous follow. No, I absolutely strongly dislike the new UI. 3 main reasons. One is they did away with the words, with the text for lots of things, mainly for the tools, and they are really pushing hard against adding it. and I don't understand their thought process around this. They seem to be like actively fighting against putting it back. I don't understand it. The other thing is the contrast stinks. So one of the things that you'll notice, not in this project, but in Ensembler, notice the background color of these tabs. Those are meaningful for me. You can do what's called file coloring. I have a video about how to do that. So purple is an outbound adapter. Peach is in the application layer. Blue is an inbound adapter, and yellow is the domain. Those are worse. It's also, I found it really hard to tell which is the currently selected tab. And so I filed issues for these, and there's lots and lots of discussion. And so that's the long answer for I'm not switching until they fix that stuff. Yes, Astrid, that's certainly, I'm sure that's a part of it, that that they, and I experienced this when I was at Apple. I tell the story all the time. Like, you know, it's a bunch of folks in their mid-20s, and they create the app, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can't read this. I'm like, what are you talking about? I can't read this. You've got dark gray and light gray, which Apple apparently is really fond of, which I think is terrible, and goes against their earlier human computer interface guidelines. And I said, no, you need to fix that because I can't read it. And I was like joking, like, don't let me, you know, don't make me file an ADA, you know, complaint against you that you're not making this accessible. I can't read this. Fix it. I don't remember if they actually fixed it, but it was pretty terrible. More likely is they are heavily influenced by VS Code, and I think VS Code's interface is terrible. It's a fine product for if you're using, you know, other languages and so on, but I think the UI is terrible. I think this idea of we're going to use icons that have arbitrary meaning when we literally have space for words. And so Oya mentions maybe they're looking to lay off translation people. No, they actually added on a trial basis text, but instead of rotating the text like this is, right, rotating it based on where it is, which is very easy to read. We're very good at reading text, even in rotated positions. Like a good understanding of how our visual system works and our cognitive architecture works would tell you that. What they did was they said, no, we're not going to rotate the text. We're going to lay it out horizontally regardless of where it is, which means that the space that this takes up, instead of taking up just a little bit of space, they made the text go out like this. Again, like, what are you doing? I don't understand it. Oh, so ADA is the American Disabilities Act. So there's a lot of laws in the US, whether they're followed or not, and a lot of times they're not followed, for making things accessible for the disabled. So anyway, that's why I'm not, all that's to say, that's why I'm not using the new UI. I think the current UI is just fine. I mean, sure, maybe they could tweak some things, you know, maybe have a little bit less space around some things. I don't know, but other than like, maybe it looks dated, which is always I'm sorry, what demo? Not sure what you meant by demo. My demo was behind the chat. My arrow pointing at horizontal space. Yeah, so, oh, sorry. My bad. Now I understand. This was off the screen. Yeah, so what I was referring to is instead of having the text like this, they had the text like this. Sorry about that. Thank you for mentioning that. Because I've got a little bit of extra space on the right that I always forget about. those are the main things. Like these things are not, it's one of those, like, I think the industry as a whole has lost a lot of its ability to do proper user experience design. Because I see so much terrible UI. I studied human computer interactions and user interface, and I just see so much terrible stuff. And I know people in that part of the industry, and they're really frustrated because it's all like designed as opposed to user experience designed. Let's see. There's something. All right. Yep. Okay. That's it. Thanks for the celebrate. Oh, yes. Hydrate. Is my caffeine off? Because I still have caffeine. Let's go do that and that. Okay. I'll caffeinate. Caffeination is sort of the opposite of hydration. Yeah, stock market centered design. I don't know what it is. I think it's I just am so frustrated that, you know, it really feels like we've taken a step backwards in terms of usability design. Anyway, so yeah, so let's see. Now the TDD game has finally finished loading. Do the test run. Let's run all the tests in the back end. What version of, oh, I want to see what version of Spring I'm using. So I'm using version 17 of Java. What? It doesn't even work. I think this is so old. That there's no version for Spring Boot. Oh, right. That's right. I'm like, why can't I see the version of Spring Boot? Because I have to look at the parent POM. Yes, because this is a multi-module project with a front end and a back end. Totally forgot about that. Thank you. There is a higher level POM, which is this one. Yes. Okay. So 237, not too bad. We can get there. Astra says Bank Web UI is a little wiggly, so a button run around. And remember, yes, I mean, when stuff moves after you click it or while you're trying to click something, like, it's just terrible. So not too bad. At least we're at least at like a not terribly old version of 2. It's certainly no longer supported, and it's not even like 2.7, but 2.3 is not too bad. Yeah. So I'll probably run the OpenRewrite, which is now built into IntelliJ. We can do an OpenRewrite recipe. I don't want a new one. I want to run the OpenRewrite recipe. OpenRewrite. How do I run it? I remember struggling with this before, like, how do I get it to run was the problem. Well, I'll worry about that later. Right now, why are the tests not running? Can we build? All right, we're able to build, so everything compiles. Let's run those tests. All right. Failed to read candidate component class. Oh, I'm probably using a newer version of Java than it supports. Right, because 2.3. So let's check our setup. No, we're using 17. Backend is 17. That's interesting. Wonder why. Well, I think we're gonna have to upgrade it before we do anything else. Oh, thank you, Astrid. I'll take a look at that. Yeah, I think 2.3 didn't support 17. So let's go back to 15. 15. May as well go back to 11. Let's see. Backend. Let's go. I don't think I can go back to 15. Well, I guess I can. I think because I was using text blocks. So Java hates, I'm sorry. Here I'm complaining that I can only go to 15. Let's try that. No, it's still complaining. Unsupported class file 61. Isn't 61 though? I probably shouldn't be spending this much time on something that I'm basically going to get rid of. So let's do that. That's 15. Try it one more time. If not, I'm just going to upgrade. We'll just do an OpenRewrite and upgrade everything. Yeah, all right. I don't know. If I go back to 11, I think that's too... I think it won't compile because I think I am using text blocks. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm using switch expression. That's a bummer. All right. Then, whoops. So let's go upgrades. Let's stick in, we'll leave 15 there. The question is will it upgrade and apply the stuff correctly? What do I have on default deck factory? What's changed there? Looks like oh, that's interesting. To list that's 16 plus, right? Let's put this back. What else has changed? I think I was experimenting the last time I was playing with this with clearly with some new stuff. Why would I expect that? Let's see if that works. Oh, I thought I changed that. Let's do that. There we go. Hey, look at that. All the tests pass. I don't know what I did. Maybe something needed to be triggered to... Anyway, I think I'm running on the right version that worked. So that's good. So what did I actually change in here? We can get rid of that. I don't know why that changed, but we'll just do a commit on that. All right. So let's go. So stupendous fall. The reason I had to change the version in multiple places is I wasn't sure that IntelliJ was going to pick up the right version. So the goal would be this version is read by IntelliJ and pulled in to the project settings. So I would not normally have to change that. Once I get everything upgraded, then it'll all be good. But sometimes IntelliJ loses track. Yeah. Jonas says we have a Java desktop app that cannot run on a JRE newer than 11.0.11. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, it just doesn't want to start. Oh dear. So that's interesting. So for apparently IntelliJ has a little bit of a detector here that's saying you'd like to run an OpenRight migration, wouldn't you? In fact, you can't even see it because it's off the screen a bit. So what it says is run OpenRight migration, which is what we'd like to do. So it's loading the recipes. And so I filed an issue on this because the last time I tried this, I was like, why would it offer, like, it's a pretty kind of dumb list. It's like, here are all the migrations that you could possibly run. At least 4 of these don't make any sense. In fact, I'd argue more than 4 of these don't make any sense. But certainly migrate to Spring Boot 2.0 is not something I want to do. Yeah, let's go back in time. I don't even think that would work because what it's going to do is it's really migrate from pre 2.0, basically 1.5 whatever, which I used to have some of, to 2.0. And what's weird is, like, there's a migrate to 2.3, migrate to 2.4, and then there's an upgrade to 2.5. Because at some point they decide to use the word upgrade in the description, and so it's sorted alphabetically. As I said, it's a dumb list. So let's go to 2.7 first, all right? I'm sure Deshaun Carter's ears are ringing because we're about to do an upgrade, and he's all about upgrading. So the first thing we'll do is we'll migrate to 2.7, get everything to work, and then see how it goes from there. Whee! Oh dear. Well now, that's a surprising failure. And oh look, Lombok is involved. So this project was in my I will just never use Lombok phase, where I would use it occasionally. So that's unfortunate. How much am I actually using Lombok? Yeah, Lombok? Ted using Lombok? What the hell? So it looks like I'm using it in a few places, actually quite a few places, for all of the DTOs. Once I upgrade to the more recent version of Java, we can get rid of those and move them onto records. However, do I have my delombokify tool? I don't think I have that installed here. I thought I did. Let's go to one of those. So let's go to this one. So this is basically, as I say, this could be a record. This could have been a record. So do I have refactor? There it is, delombok. Why is that not working? Oh, that's such a cheat. What a tease. There's a plugin. Actually, I don't know if it's part of this plugin or if there's some other plugin that I have. Maybe it's part of the Lombok plugin to de-Lombokify, but it's not working. Why is it deactivated? Oh, hey, Thomas Trout. Yeah, I'm past Java 11, so I'm not sure what the problem is. It's basically saying, I don't know why it was trying to compile it since it was already compiled. So it was part of the... I wonder if it was using the wrong version of Java to compile this. So it was using 17. But we're on 15. So I'm not sure. I mean, I would like to get rid of Lombok anyway. Yeah, maybe the cursor needs to be elsewhere. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I guess so. Okay. That's annoying. Thanks for that. I actually thought my cursor was outside, but it wasn't. We're going to de-Lombok and get rid of all Lombok annotations. Awesome. And don't you dare. See, this is where I'd love to like say, can you just de-Lombokify all my code? There is an I mean, I wonder, is there an OpenRewrite recipe for de-Lombokify? I wouldn't be surprised if there was. Let's go look. So let's go docs.openrewrite.org recipes. Let's spell recipes correctly. Lombok. Using Lombok. That's writing a refactoring recipe. I can't convert it to a record yet. That I don't need. That's a bummer. What I'd like is just de-Lombokify, but I guess I'm blanking. Which version of Java had records? Can I convert to records yet? I forget. That's what I was thinking. I think it was 16 that records came in. I'm pretty sure it was 16. Yeah, I can't use enable preview on an old release. Can I upgrade this to 17? I don't think I can because I need to get Spring Boot to a 17 compatible version. Although I could convert. Welcome to migration problems, right? This is what happens if you don't keep your projects up to date. Is that true? Is that Lombok jar de-Lombok? Is that a thing? I mean, I don't think I have that many Lombok usages. Oops. But it's depend as follows. Is that a thing? We can run Java jar Lombok? I am a little surprised that there's not an OpenRewrite recipe. It's like, no, I would never want to do that. Let's see. Yeah, so it'll convert it to a record. What does the migrate to Java 11 do? It just updates the dependency, yeah. Oh, well then let's go to Project Lombok. Thanks, depend as follow. I didn't even think that. Features, do Lombok. Do I have the Lombok jar anywhere? I need to grab it. Where would I grab it from? It's got to be in the class path somewhere. Running Lombok in an ant. That's hilarious. Oh, look, there's a Maven plugin. Let's go grab that. I think I've got already plugins. Yeah, I mean, if I at worst I can go to the Maven repo and grab it. But let's try this Maven plugin. Do I have plugins? Yes, I do have plugins. So let's grab plugin. And let's let it find it. There it is. Oh, that's weird. It expects the code to be... I don't want that. I just want you to change it in a line. All right, then never mind. Let's go grab the Lombok jar file. What does the Lombok do? So class path, source path. Oh, so it is going to put it also in a separate separate directory. Yeah, that's all right. That I think is better. All right, so let's go grab the Lombok file. Nope. See, another case of like Maven, Sonotop updated their search Maven interface, and I hate it. I want the jar. Yeah, if I see power mock, I'm very sad. I don't usually grab the jar. Where are the downloads? There's the jar. Hey there, Xproof. Is domain-driven design still applicable for simple Spring Boot applications that read and write to a database? Those are two different things. There's DDD, and there's how you're going to implement it. Two completely different things. You should not be considering implementation details. The question is your domain complicated enough? If you're just reading, writing, and it's CRUD, and there's no behavior, you're not going to do DDD. In my experience, though, at some point you're going to want or wish you had done it. So let's move from downloads, the Lombok jar to here. And then we're going to go de-Lombokify it. Where are we? So we'll need to change into the back end. And so we can now all right, let's see what happens. What now? I don't get it. Why do things not work? Why is it looking for stuff in the Spring framework? I don't understand that. Did it do anything? It did something. Java comments, broadcast, view. I don't understand why. This is more exciting. It looks like it modified everything. I don't know why it gave me errors. It looks like it did stuff. So let's, oh, whoops, some high type stuff in there. So let's go see. So what I wish it had done is only the code that needed to be changed, it wrote to the new directory. So there's source de-Lomboked, main, Java, adapter. Oh, I don't like what it did at all. Yeah, no, this is terrible. What the heck did it do? This is the original cards view. Oh, because, oh, yeah, no, it basically changed. No, it did. Oh, no. All right, we're gonna do this manually. I see what it did. Like, it generated the methods that it was generating on the fly, which is pretty ugly. But worse is it reformatted all my code and added a bunch of suppressed warnings for I don't know why. And it put final as parameters, and I never do that. So what I wish it had done is just like lightly remove stuff, add stuff that it needs, and don't mess with the other stuff. But I understand what it probably is doing is it's doing a parsing at a low level. And I don't know why you asked me to celebrate that, Astra. This is terrible. We're celebrating how terrible it is. I mean, I guess it worked, but no, we don't want to know how Lombok does its job. Okay, so we're going to do this manually. Yeah. So we're going to delete that. Goodbye. All right. So let's go delumbokify. Lumbok, delumbok, all lumbok annotations. See, like, I wish it did this, because this is fine. Like, here's my get. Here's my get. I mean, I don't usually use this, but that's okay. Here's the equals. A little wordy. Some stuff can be cleaned up, but who cares? Can equals I'm using. Hash code is fine, but this is okay. But boy, I can't wait to turn this into a record. Yeah. All right. So let's go this one. That's fine. I suspect it's going to be most of my views. Refactor, delumbok. What did it change? Oh, it must have just changed indentation. One thing I noticed is this is probably one of the last projects where I was trying out using 2-space indents, and I don't do that anymore. I do 4-space. Sometimes I think about 8 spaces. All right, so let's delumbokify this. And this one. And this one. Let's turn on that log statement so that it actually gets done. And the controller, that, refactor, that, action. I really feel bad about like doing this and then I'm just going to convert all these to records. But one step at a time. That's how you do migrations. Man, I had a lot of views. DTO. Hey, look at that. That's not a record. That's not a... that didn't have Lombok. And that. And that one. Sort of as I suspected, most of the stuff where I'm using Lombok are in the view objects, the data transfer view objects. That's fine. That one. Oh, that's interesting. What's that? Huh. Okay. This one. And this one. Yes, this is fun. I'm sure it's as fun for you to watch as it is for me to do it. That one already is done. Let's take a look. What have we got left? Note that I had this as a story, but only from the domain code. What even changes? Well, I'll come back to that. Score controller. All right, so let's go there. Login friends. Oops. So what's the next one? No. Unlock. Actually, import. Is that it? Is that the last one? Let's see. Looks like that's the last of Lombok. Yes, it is the last of Lombok. Let's go here. We can check that off. And let's go to the POM file and get rid of it. All right. Now we can celebrate. Yay! Lombok is gone. Long live Lombok. Good riddance, actually. So let's go and see if we can run our tests. Why does this project have Lombok? That's an excellent question, Xproof. What happened? Cannot find class playing card. Let's make sure we do a rebuild. That looks fine. Let's reload Maven. Let's do a rebuild again. We're young and need money. Mainly, honestly, because we didn't have records. This was pre-Java 16, which again tells you how old this project is. All right, so let's try that again. Look at that, all the tests passed. Amazing. We definitely do not want to pass hold on. Okay. Lombok define the code. All right. Hey there, Duncan Stamp. Welcome. Do I play any D&D? No. I haven't played D&D in many, many years. My son just never got into it. He's into Magic the Gathering. All right. Let me make this window bigger. I look like a DM. I used to be a DM, but that was many years ago. All right. So now we've gotten that out of the way. Let's go try running the rewrite recipe again. Are you going to offer us the rewrite? Yes, you are. So we said we're going to try to migrate to 2.7. So the other thing that I don't like about the OpenRewrite running from within IntelliJ is I'd like it to keep this stuff quiet. Like, I don't need to see all into this noise. As a coach, I'm a certain kind of DM. Yes, I guess you could say that. Hey, look at that. It's now validating active recipes. Running recipes. And now IntelliJ's reindex everything. But that looks like it worked. Yes, Lombok dragons, those are the worst. All right, so that seemed to work. Did IntelliJ finish indexing everything? Looks that way. Let's try running our tests. Amazing, they all pass. What version of Spring did we get to? We should have gotten to 2.7. I don't know, what is the latest 2.7? 2.7. Oh, it didn't do it. Oh, that's weird. Did I run it at the wrong level, or did it run it at the wrong level? did it do anything? Hold on. What the heck happened? I am confused. It did change stuff. Well, it removed my auto wireds. I could care less about that. In fact, I like my auto wireds. It got rid of that. Okay. And it got rid of auto wired. Well now. Well, what's weird is like it ran on the back end. But I guess wasn't smart enough to look at the base POM. It's likely though that I'm not there isn't much between 2.3 and 2.7. So let's do this. So I think I'm gonna roll back those because I like my @auto wired annotations. I know they're not necessary anymore. I like them. But we'll keep the change it made in the POM by removing, because we no longer need to exclude the vintage JUnit. Let's see if we can get to 2.7. I guess 17 is the latest. And let's load the Maven changes. That's why when I saw it reindexing, I thought it had actually gotten the latest version. So that's interesting. I mean, to be honest, we're going to not have a multi-module project anymore once I get rid of the front end. But not being able to, like, is that a bug or is that just like, oh, we never thought that you'd run it on a multi-module project? I don't know. Okay, so now we're on 2.7.17. Let's do a rebuild. All right, everything's cool. Run our tests. 2.7.18, 2.7.17. It's early enough. We're gonna be going to 3 anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's recent enough. Okay, I think we can now go to Java 17. So let's rebuild that. Let's double check that IntelliJ picked up those versions. Yes, 17 here. The other ones, it doesn't matter. I don't know why it doesn't change the project, but the module is the only one that matters. So we're on 17 for the back end. Hey, Suiji. We're at the not fun part of migrating the code from Spring Boot 2.3 and Java 15 to more recent versions. You missed the fun with delumbokifying, though. All right, so that's all good. So let's do a commit. Updated to Spring Boot 2.7.17 and Java 17. We'll call it migrated. I wonder if I should... You already have that you already know what that fun is? Okay. I guess we'll go ahead and migrate now to 3. The other thing is I'd like to be able to run this with some options, because one of the things I don't want it to do is remove my auto wired. So we're going to run this manually. So we're going to go OpenRewrite, migrate Spring Boot auto wired. So it'll already migrate to 17. We're fine with that. It'll upgrade dependencies. It'll upgrade the parent POM. Remove unnecessary constructor binding. So it's going to run the 2.7 update, which is a bummer. Well, let's see what happens. I'm really sorry to hear that you're actually, the word new and Java 1.8 in the same sentence are very sad. Thomas, for me, because I find that it's not noise, that it's actually useful to remind me that this is the constructor that Spring will use. There are times when I have multiple constructors and then that becomes important. So it's personal taste. I recognize that some people might think it's not important. I don't necessarily disagree. All right, I'm not going to bother trying to figure out. Let's just go migrate. So many recipes to run. All right. But likely it did not change this. Yeah. Let's go change it manually. 3.0.6. Sweegie, no, I hate it. First of all, it doesn't seem to know about multi-module project. So like I have a base POM file and then I have two modules, one for front end, one for back end. So the back end has all the starter stuff in it. The base POM for my entire project is where the Spring Boot version is, but it doesn't seem to be updating that. Even worse is it doesn't allow me to specify any options for when running it. In addition, it seems to be unreliable for it to pop up, and so I'm not sure how to actually how to run it without it popping up. Because if I do that, it's like new OpenRewrite recipe. I don't want a new OpenRewrite recipe. I want to run one of them. So that's auto build. That's run. So I have to go now back to the docs because I don't know how to trigger it. It was popping up before here, but now it's stopped popping up. Even though I'm not done yet, I'd like to get the 3.2. So let's go to the docs. Where are the docs? Here they are. Oops. Let's see. That's run an OpenRewrite recipe. I don't have a rewrite recipe. Run built-in migration scripts. Oh, it's only available for Spring versions lower than 3. Well, that's not useful. The other thing I was really like had to laugh is like this one that is called upgrade, and because it's alphabetical, it's out of order. But this is just like they must have thrown this in at the last minute or something, because this is not a great implementation. Yeah, usually I've run it with the MVN commands as well. I can just create one like this. So recipe with IntelliJ in your OpenRewrite YAML file. I don't have an OpenRewrite YAML file. I guess it's a run configuration. So let's go see. So we've got a run configuration. Can we edit it? I guess we can. So let's go change the recipe. I'm assuming the recipe is just 3.2, right? Yeah. There's no 3.3 one yet, because 3.3 is not out. No. Let's do 3.2. And we'll run it. Yeah, I wonder if the multi-module thing is a known issue. All right. So what did it change? That's it? I mean, honestly, there's no security. So it's a bit unsurprising that it hasn't had to make many changes. One bug report per stream. No way. I've already got 3. All right, so let's go here. And now if we go to 3.2. What is the latest? Is it 7? No. 6? No, I guess it's 5. I thought there was something after 3.2.5. Oh, well, there's 3.3 RC1. I guess 3.2.5 is the latest. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't notice that before. We could try that. See what happens. So let's cancel this. Let's undo this. And let's see if it does the right thing. So it is resolving all the POMs. It did upgrade the parent version, which it did. Interesting. So it didn't pop up the recipe runner up here in this POM file. It would only pop up here. I don't know why. But that seemed to work. So thanks for the idea, Jonas. Yes, good spotting. Honestly, there aren't a lot of dependencies in here, so it's unsurprising that not much has changed. Like, there's no persistence, there's no security, there's hardly anything at all. So it's unsurprising that this went as smooth as it did. Let's go run our tests. And amazingly, they all pass. Excellent. That's probably the smoothest migration to 3.2.5 you'll ever see. So if you're gonna like avoid migrating your projects, make sure they're trivial projects. That helps a lot. So this was autowired. That we're gonna keep. And then autowired. So I am going to revert these because I love my autowireds. What else changed? Yeah, just the POM. Okay. So we have now migrated to Spring Boot 3.2.5. And now we're on Java 17, but let's go to 22. No reason why not. What could possibly go wrong? Well, I hope you have good tests. That's all I can say. Because that's the only thing giving me confidence that this stuff works, that it compiled and the tests pass. Let's go check our project settings. So it's 22. Which is going to be difficult to execute without having an SDK that's also 22. We'll set this to 22. Let's rebuild. And run our tests. And they all pass. I wonder if I run an OpenRewrite recipe for updating Java, or was that part of the Spring Boot one? I forget. Let's commit this. Java. Modernize. Migrate to Java 21. My favorite Mockito. Yes, Mockito is the best tested library. Let's see what it does for this. So let's go. Actually, let's go edit this one. Since I have so few dependencies, there's nothing to run. Recipes not found? What? All right, I'm just gonna run this from the command line because I'm not sure what the problem is. Org, OpenRewrite, Java, migrate. I'm just gonna run it. Every single code change results in 10 Mockito tests failing. Yeah. I hope by fixing them you mean you're getting rid of the use of Mockito. So what did it upgrade? Oh, look, it used sequence collection. I think that's the only changes it made, is just for sequence collection using first and last. Let's see what that looks like. Ooh, quite a few of them. That's nice. Yeah, because I have a lot of these, you know, I'm getting the players, and I want the first one. So there's certainly a lot of that. So that's nice. And the hand has cards. I'm usually getting the first one. Okay, cool. Oh, and look, it recognized that this could be replaced with get last. That's very handy. It's those little things. This one's unfortunate because it replaced get zero with get first. And this is totally like this is perhaps not great. Yes, get seconds. Like, I'm not sure I like the lack of symmetry here, so I'm gonna undo those. That one's fine. That one's fine. That one's fine. Yeah, I like get first if it's by itself, but if it's part of I'm getting 0 and I'm getting 1, then it's not so much. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And that's fine. I can see I've got a lot of tests that I'm going to have to be updating to be better. I agree. First would have been better. I remember seeing that there was a reason for it. I don't remember what the reason was, but I remember there being a reason, a specific reason for it, and it kind of made sense, I think. But it is what it is. All right. All right. I think that's it for migrating. So we can call it a day, right? Let's see. Let's get rid of... What is the difference between this one and this one? This one is all in package. This one, I don't understand, is the directory. This should be all I need. Yeah, I know I've got some ignored tests. I'm not too worried about those. Disabled, actually. So now the question is, what happens if I run the application? All right, it started, supposedly. Actually, did it start on 8080? No, start on 8088. But that's the back end is on 8088. Where's the front end? I think I actually have to do something in the front end. Where's my front end? Front end is here. That's irrelevant. Package JSON. I remember something around having to run something for proxying. Did I give myself a README to how to run it? No. Oh, past TED. Blech. So that's the back end. Did it I forget now who serves up the resources. I think it might be... No, it was run as a separate thing. So... yeah, I guess I could do npm run serve. Let's do that. So because this is so old, it won't run on the node that I have installed. And I'm not sure I want to run npm update. I mean, I could do an npm build and see what that does. Nope. So the question is how much do I try to get that stuff to work? Would be kind of nice to see it running again, but yeah, this is why, like, of all the reasons that I have to not use JavaScript, TypeScript, this is it, right? Java, like, I opened that project up, right out of the box, it worked. Running on the latest JVM, something from Java 15, worked. This, right, 3 months, heck, like 1 month, and everything changes. And stuff is not as backwards compatible. So let me see if I can install an older version. NVM. Just remove 350. See, 350 packages from a Vue.js sounds like nothing. But if you said I remove 350, dependencies from a Java project, I'd be like, what did you do? Delete the Spring framework? I mean, the difference between the two communities is just weird. So let's see if we can go back to an nvm use v12.22.6. All right. And so npm run build. Oh, let's change to the front end first, and then we can do npm run build. Yes, out of date. Unexpected console statement. Really? I don't care. Should I go back earlier? I wonder when that came into being. Oh, Alex Story. Homegrown frameworks. Re-implement this. Let's. I'm gonna try version 10. If that doesn't work, then I'll just comment out the console because it looks like it's only 2 things. All right, and let's try npm run build. Yeah, npm, it's like, tell me when you stop doing this. I'm sure there's a way to do that. Compiled successfully. So clearly it was between 10 and 12. So let's do an npm run serve. Look at that. And so now, my name is Ted. Oh my God, it works. Just had to reset my NVM back a bunch of years. So here we are with my online version of my game. Yes, this is definitely a celebrate. Ship it. I'm actually kind of surprised. Like there's no way I'm gonna try to be able to update the view, but I'm actually very happy that this is working. Yeah, celebrations all around. If you have a drink, drink. What's my next project after this one? So one of the problems with this layout is there's no room for the board. And that's kind of a problem. So with my mockup, and this goes back to answer Alex's question, what am I doing? Basically, I'm implementing this game. Right now, it's a physical version. I want to create an online version. But the board kind of has to be there, because that's what you're playing against. This was intended to be played alongside a board. So you could do this, and somebody just has the board, and they're playing with it. So that's an option. Not a great one, though. But, you know, if you've already got the physical game, lay out the board, have a camera on the board, and then this works. So we can play. I'll take a less code card and I'll discard it. Which clearly doesn't work. That's a bummer. I can reorder the cards. Why will it not let me discard? That's a bummer. Well, at least it laid it out nicely. Looks good. Doesn't have to work, right? Let's go look at my other terminal here. Apparently it thinks it's not in my hand. So, so this is what the run test card does. So we can close that. Yes, Figma-driven development. Oh, well. Oh, I think because that's interesting. It looks like it actually did discard it. And we can draw our hand back up to full. So now we got new cards. We can play this card, and then I can play this card, and then I can play this card, and then I can draw my run tests. So that passes. And so now I draw my hand to full, but it won't let me discard those. I might have been in the middle of a feature. Who the heck knows? Yeah. Alex Story asks, why do I use Node.js for backend? I'm not using Node.js for the backend. I'm using Node.js for the front end. The front end is currently Vue.js. Backend, I'm doing Java Spring Boot. Could look at the messages going back and forth. I'm curious what those are. So our console. So the way this works is there is an API, but most of the communication is actually going through the WebSockets. But I'm actually using Stomp on top of WebSockets, mainly because that made it really nice for doing some fancy things. Yes. Why not HTMX front end? That's exactly where we're going. Mainly because, honestly, I don't want to try and update Vue.js. I just don't want to do that. Now, the Vue.js front end does do post requests for commands. So that's why like this one failed. Because for whatever reason, it thought I didn't have those cards. And would not surprise me that there's some bug somewhere because I might have been in the middle of changing something. So we base, there's another view. What is that endpoint? So somewhere in front end router, there is the game master. Let's go look at that. So this is the game master view, which is someone can basically watch a game playing. It's clearly not working. But the idea is I'd be able to view, who's got what's being played, what was the last test result card, things like that. So I don't know why that's not working. That's kind of a bummer. Oh, maybe it didn't get the updated state. So let's see. Can I play this and then draw a hand to full? No. Yeah, I'm not sure why this doesn't work. But anyway, it would show the view here. Suiji says, curious how HTMX will hold up for a complex project. Like, it's just fetching. Like, I don't understand for only simple websites. Like, what? Like, I want somebody to give me an example of a non-simple website where you're using React, Angular, or Vue, and what you're getting for that, unless you have a lot of complex state on the front end. Because the one thing that you do get sort of out of the box with some of these is there's lots of like components. But oops, that's not what I wanted. Anyway, so I should be able to connect to this. So this is the opponent's view. This is my view. So I can see my opponent's cards, or at least the one they've played. So the idea is this central area here is the workspace. So I can see what's in the workspace, but I can't see my opponent's hand. So here, this is my view of the game. I can see my opponent's workspace here. They can see my workspace here, and they can't see my hand. This is when I thought that you wanted to be able to hide your hands, and that may still be something I want to do, but for the most part, seeing the hands, I don't need it. Yeah, so this was all about like what did this do? I am kind of bummed that the discard is not working. And apparently the play isn't working either. Yeah, so. So, all right. Now that we've had that fun, so we can kind of see how the game was working way back when. We can go ahead and stop it, because yeah, there's probably some code around the cards. Who's got what card? Maybe there was something I was in the middle of changing. Because here we get a discard request for card 12 from player 1. And it's basically saying it's not in their hand. Which is just weird. So each card has its own ID. So that's something that is interesting. It's like each card is unique. There are, just like in the physical game, it's not, right, if we look at the game, yeah, there's a write code card and there's another write code card. But they are two different cards, so they get two different identifiers. All right, Jonas, thanks for hanging out. See you next time. All right, so we can stop this. And we can go ahead and close all of this. It was a really interesting design because I had basically, so there's probably some stuff that at least conceptually that's going to transfer over. So for example, I had something that represented the row of the cards, right? So basically the layout and basically the cards, and that would pretty much represent this, which I need to come up with a better name than row. I think it's just hand. And there's the cards mini view, which showed the cards in sort of compressed format. That was mainly for the admin view that doesn't seem to work. And the test results was sort of a modal pop-up because you needed to see it and you couldn't interact with anything else until you sort of evaluated that. There's also some interesting stuff, and I know it's in my videos when I was working on this way back when, on receiving events over the stomp channel. And so there was this thing So one of the things that I had to protect against was missing a message. So it's over WebSockets and you're getting messages, but you could miss them. And so the question is what would happen if you got a message and then, or even worse, was messages out of order. So every message transmitted the entire state of the game. And I'll probably continue to do something like that. But here the situation was, if I got a message, but its monotonically increasing number was less than the last one I processed, I basically just throw it away. The card ID thing feels like trying to model the real world too closely. I don't think so. I do need to know which card is which, mainly because, yes, cards of the same type are technically interchangeable, but I have to keep track of how many there are. And it was just easier to give them unique identifiers. My watch is running out of battery. So let's take a look at the back end. We've got, so right off the bat, you can sort of tell this is older style thinking about Hexagonal, because I don't have an application layer. I just have my domain layer with a bunch of ports. The only port I have is the game state channel, and this is the thing that sends, that communicates information over the WebSocket. So this is the broadcast adapter, which right now pretty much just has 3. This will probably completely change. So we've got our card factory, which creates cards. We've got our good old card shuffler. And we've got different kinds of cards. We have, where are they? We've got playing cards, which I will probably change to action cards, because that's what I call these guys now, the ones that are like code bloat or less code. Those are the action cards. The test result cards are from are these test results that have stuff about that. So those will probably get renamed. Well, I think what's different about blackjack is that cards are sort of interchangeable. But I think actually they are value objects. They don't need an identifier because they are value objects, right? Because they are identified by the suit plus the rank. Whereas physical cards, there's no way to tell the difference, so I do need identifiers. Yes, if there's green on the card, so you can sort of see through them, because that's green. And actually that's blue, but it's close enough to the green of my background that you get see through. Yeah, so that's basically the difference, is that here one less card, I can't differentiate them based on the card, so I need to give them identifiers to keep track. So is it a value object? It's still a value object. I still look at it as a value object. The fact that it has an ID makes it not a value object. I think I still struggle with this particular case. So we'll see what happens. So I've got my deck, and what is a deck? So so the deck actually has 2 pieces. It has the draw pile. So basically they're face down, and that's where you draw new cards from. And then there's the discard pile. And eventually, when the draw pile is empty, we shuffle. We shuffle the discard, and that adds new cards. So there's quite a bit of stuff that's already here. We'll see how well it holds up when we start adding and modifying things. Clearly, this location thing was something I was working on. I remember seeing a disabled test for that. Yeah, so clearly there was some refactoring I was doing that was not refactoring because I broke stuff. And also here, I will likely switch over to using output tracker. Here I've got my random card shuffler, which should not be in the domain. So that'll change. This is the enum that represents a definition of a card. And here's the playing card itself. So there's this thing about on play goes to versus on draw goes to. So there's a variation of the game. I might have to throw this out to simplify it, but we'll see. So if you draw a card and it happens to be a red card, a code bloat card, for example, those would actually be played against your opponent. So they're a negative card. That basically there's some restrictions. If you get one of these, you can't do certain things unless you do something else. So they're kind of seen as I call them tech neglect or tech deck cards. And so that's one variation. This one though, the other cards, like the predict card or the less code card, they go into your hand, but those code bloat can't assert red cards, they go immediately into your workspace, or what I call in play. So that's why there's this what happens to them when you draw them, where do they go, and then what happens when you play them. So when you play them, sometimes they go to different places. So sometimes they go to self, and sometimes by playing them, you're discarding them. And so which ones get discarded? So for example, the refactor, you play it, when you draw it, it goes into your hand, but when you play it, it's immediately discarded because it does its operation as part of the discard. So like the tech neglect cards, when you draw it, it goes immediately into play. And when you play it, I don't know why it goes to self. Really should go to... Anyway, there's some stuff around that. Yeah, they really do like... So I'm going to disagree that they're value objects, because I can have two the fact is I can have these in my hand. There's no way you can tell by anything that's on the card that they're different. Yet I am holding two of them. Therefore, they cannot be value objects. They can't. The definition of a value object is it's defined by its attributes. These two things have exactly the same attributes. They both have the same text. They both say predict on them. They are both action cards. They are not value objects. They are immutable entities because I can tell the difference, I have to tell the difference between one and the other, which is very different than two addresses that are the same place. They are the same thing. I can't say I live at 123 X Street and also have another address list, 123 X Street, and say that those are different. They are not. By definition, they are the same. For a color, red, I can't have two instances of red. They are by definition the same. But predict cards, they are, if I have multiple versions of them, they are literally two different cards. If I drop one of them into a river and give me one of them one that looks the same, but because I dropped one of them into the river, all of them are not wet. That's not the same as a value object. I know, for me, it's like, I really want them to feel like value objects, except they can't be. What is what, but how will it affect the game? I will be missing a card. And so the fact that I take an action on one of my cards doesn't mean I take an action on your card. They are not the same card. Money is a value object because $3 is $3. But what happens to that money object when it's in an account, right? It gets mixed up with other stuff. The actual instance of that money is actually a different one. So there's some subtleties here. There's an ownership, but the fact is they're different. I'm more than happy to be proven wrong, but I can't see any way to reconcile the fact that I've got two of these things, and for a value object, I can't have two of those things that have the same attributes and say that they are two different things. Not according to the definition that I go by. And regardless, like, I need to tell the difference because I need to keep track of them. You can't, I mean, you can't say they're value objects, but they're not the same if they have the same attributes. You can't do that. Like, the rule of value objects is that they are defined by their attributes. Now, we could say they're value objects, and one of the attributes is which one is it? Because that's fine. Because they aren't really entities because they don't change, but they do have identifiers. So we could say they are value objects, but in addition to what it says on the card and what type it is, it has a number. And then that resolves all our problems. So we can call them value objects, but one of their attributes is they have an identifier. Now, it could be I don't need a unique identifier across all cards. I could say something like, actually, let me turn on, I turn on my other camera. Will that work? Let's see. Aw. Hold on. There we go. Oh, you're way out of focus. Focus. There we go. So, for example, this write code card and this write code card, they are clearly two different things. So we could say that that's write code 1 and that's write code 2. So we can tell the difference. They're value objects. They don't change over time, but we do tell the difference. One of their attributes is which number it is. And then I can tell the difference between these two less code cards by saying this is less code card 1 and this is less code card 2. So I don't have to have a unique identifier across all of them. That I will definitely grant you. But I do need to tell the difference between this less code card and that less code card. And so part of its attributes must be that there's also which one are you? Because now I've got another write code card. So I think I'm willing to say that they are value objects, but that one of their attributes is a number. Of which one are they? And then maybe that satisfies everybody. So I think that makes sense. I'm convinced they are value objects, but one of their attributes is which one of those are they, and therefore I don't need a unique card ID for each individual card. But I think it turns out to be easier that way, because otherwise the identifier then becomes a composite of the type of card it is. Is this right code card 1, right code card 2, or right code card 3, or is it less code card 1, less code card 2? That's kind of annoying. If I just say this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4, and this is 5, that makes it a lot easier. And that's basically what I've done. So I don't have to have new numbers for every single card. I just think it's easier than a composite key that's the name of the card plus which one is it. But I'm happy to be. I can't just count them because I need to know, is this predict card, which one is it? Because I need to reference it. I need to say, I'm dealing this predict card. And I need to differentiate between them because then then it makes it really difficult to refer to a specific one. Right? So if I've got these two in my hand and I want to play one of them, yes, it doesn't matter which one I play, and I could just play any of them. But then it's just harder, right? Because it's like, I want to discard this right code card. And I could just say, okay, well, that just means discard any right code card. Yeah, but it's easier if I just say discard one with an identifier. Yeah, it might be that I don't absolutely 100% need the identifiers. That when I create the cards, I just create 4 copies. But then I can't, I mean, I still have to figure out if they're in a set, 2 predict cards can't be equal. So I have to differentiate them some way. And if I say that, well, it's just which instance they are, isn't that still an ID? Why would I put them in a set? I don't have to put them in a set. I could put them in a list. I still think the same thing applies. Like, I'm still differentiating them by, well, now I'm differentiating by where they are on the list. I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, it could be that I haven't thought all of the options through. And that it doesn't, if I play a predict card, it doesn't matter which one I play. As long as I remove one of them. I just think it's harder. Because now I'm having to sort of scan through the list for remove a predict card. I don't know, maybe that'll make things easier in some cases, but I'd have to either say which position in the list it is, and then that's fine. Yeah, maybe I'm coming around to the idea that the IDs just make things easier, but they aren't necessary. Yeah, I don't want to overthink it, but I appreciate the discussion, because maybe I don't need them. So I'm coming around to your way. Yeah. Patotato, when did I release this game? So the physical game that you see here was released, I don't know, a couple years ago. If you go to tdd.cards, you can find out more about it. But anyway, that was actually a really good discussion, so thank you for that, because they are value objects, because the predict cards are interchangeable. I just need to, that doesn't mean I can't have multiple of them that I treat as separate things. And maybe I don't need to tell the difference. No, I'll keep that in the back of my head. In the meantime, one thing I want to do is I'd like to reformat my source code. So let's do that. Sure. So let's do a commit. Now we've changed everything, reformatted. Oh, yes, thank you for switching camera. Now, I'd like to... I'm not sure how to approach this. So there's certainly some cleanup I could do, like all those delumbokified classes could be probably a lot of them could be converted to records, except I don't think that's worth it, because I'd actually just delete them, because they might not even be necessary. So the fact is game is currently where the action's happening. One of the problems built into game right now, or one of the limitations, is it's kind of assuming a two-player game. It does have a map of player IDs to players. However, there is this idea of an opponent for a player, and that doesn't exist. That may have existed when I thought it was only a two-player game, but it makes no sense with a 3 or 4 player game. So that concept has to go away. So let's start making a sort of punch list, as it were. Let's close this. This task list is pretty out of date, so I'm going to rename this one. And yes, and I was just about to say, oh, I should create a JIRA. Let's do that. So, there's basically cleanup work. We'll get rid of the front-end module altogether. Make it a single module project. No, I don't. I was gonna say look for places to clean up, but I'm not gonna worry about cleaning up things. I'm glad, Astrid. Yeah. So, one thing I definitely want, so, remove the idea of an opponent. Games can have anywhere from 1 to 6 players. So right now the game, you can actually play solo, like you can play sort of against yourself. And you can do things like you could time box it, you could play around with it. But certainly the opponent idea has to go away. Maybe get rid of the card ID, because maybe that's actually just getting in the way. It might have been easy to use. It might have been easier for cross back-end, front-end communication. But since I'm not holding any state on the front end anymore, then it might be easier. What else do I need to get rid of? So there's some stuff around architecture, testable architecture that I need to clean up. Yeah, I was thinking ArcUnit. I'm not quite ready to pull in ArcUnit just yet. But certainly as part of that, we'll pull in ArcUnit. I did just finish writing a rule for this, that any class that references random directly, references clock, certain clock methods, or references collections.shuffle must be an adapter. So I'll pull in that ArcUnit rule as well. I honestly, I'm like, in the back of my head is going, what the heck did I mean by this? What did I mean by location? I could go back to my videos and see what I was thinking. Clearly my location test. Oh, right. Location was location on the board. Because I was going to start introducing the idea of having the board be visible. And so this test is perfect for that, because it's basically saying, like in the game, to get from here to here, you discard a card. So to get from location 1 to location 2, you have to discard a card. And that's exactly what this test says. So yay past me for writing a good test method name. So this is starting to implement the rules of how you move around the board. I wonder if that's the place to start. So one of the things I've been sort of struggling with is like there's stuff that's sort of implemented or half implemented. Like, so where do I go from here? I mean, I could just tear it completely down and start over. But I've got loss aversion and sunk cost fallacy. So I want to actually take this stuff and make it into the new thing. But I wonder if sort of figuring out what I need as if I was trying to play the game, if that might be an interesting approach. Certainly from a thought process point of view. Yes, we love legacy because it's our nature to like it. All right, so what do we need? We need a way to structure for the board, including so tile would have been a better name than location, but when I wrote this, I didn't have the physical version, so but tile is certainly the appropriate word. Yes, there's definitely solving riddles or puzzles that we love. Yeah. So let's see. So tile. A tile has rules for exit. So there's basically there's in some cases there's just one way to exit. So you discard a card to go from here to here, discard a card to go from here to here. Then to go from here, you can either skip, and so you'd skip down to here to write code for feature. But to do that, you take on code risk over here. The camera must have gotten moved. Hope you're not getting seasick here. Okay, there we go. So tiles have a tile has rules for exit, sometimes multiple exits. That exists. Yes, just like a dungeon. And sometimes you need a magic spell to open the door. And that magic spell is you have to predict successfully. So all exits, so why does it think precondition is spelled correctly but not postcondition? Fine, I'll hyphenate it. It's in some match, yes. So exits, I mean, really it's one big state machine. So I'm reading, I was reading we're actually skimming through a couple of different books that are about concepts. So there's one book by Daniel Jackson called, I'm blanking on the name of the book. Something Concepts. Oh, no, it's called, this is why I can never remember the name of it. Because it's all about software concepts. But that's not the name of the book. It's the subtitle of the book. So let's go here. Okay. So this is the book by Daniel Jackson, right? The Essence of Software: Why Concepts Matter for Great Design. I think it's a really good book. It's a bit, there's a bit of depth to this book. Then there's another book. Let's see. Oops. There it is. This one is called Conceptual Models. Now, what's interesting about this, and I know this is totally a huge tangent, and yes, I'm looking at these as for the book club because we're thinking about what the next book is, and I gotta say, these are books that, or at least one of these books is one that I'd really like to do. They're both actually about, there's a lot of similar ideas. What I am amazed about is they don't reference each other. They're contemporary to each other, but they don't reference. It's fascinating. It's like, Daniel Jackson, how could you not reference conceptual models? The first edition came out before your book and talks about a lot of the same ideas. So I'm just like, how could you not reference that? But anyway, it's this idea about not just like features, but the concepts beneath it. And so the Essence of Software talks about like, how you might rate a book, 1 to 5 stars. But that concept of rating, well, it can apply to a bunch of things. And so it's more than just the concept, but then how you implement it. You might even be able to, if you think about it from a conceptual standpoint, you might be able to implement it in a way that is more easily reusable. But so I was thinking about that because in one of his blog posts, he talks about apps or state machines. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. No, this Conceptual Models is the second edition. The first edition came out before Daniel Jackson's book came out. So that's why this came out in 2021. This came out, this one came out in, I don't know, very recently. So the first edition came out in 2012. This edition just came out 2024. So yeah, so it's fascinating. But anyway, so one of the things he was talking about, all this is to say that like applications are state machines, probably a bunch of interlocking state machines. And so for a while now, I've basically just looked at lots of things as state machines. So when I was doing the timer, that was a fairly simple state machine, although it got more complex when we had pause and resume and things like that. And so the board is this board, right, it's basically a state machine, right? So how do you get from here to here? Well, there's only one thing that can happen. There's only one transition. But once you're here, then if you do skip, then that transitions you to here. But if you're here, then you have to play a write code card, so that transitions you to here. So what's nice about that is it's not the tiles that have rules for exit. It's really that there's a state machine that looks at all of the incoming commands. So if I play, right? So if I play, if I'm, let's say, here, and I play Doesn't matter which card. Let's say I play a write code card, and then it moves me to here. If I'm here and I play a less code card, well, that's actually not valid. There is no transition that allows me to play a less code card. But from here, this rule is a bit more general. So from here, I could play a less code card to get to here. So it's the transitions that are available. So this one would say any card applies to be able to transition. So basically discarding a card or playing a card moves you here. Whereas this one, it would need to say the command is write code played, which would move me to here. But there's also, I elect as a completely different kind of thing. I elect to skip to here. I swear I put cards in that. Oh, stop. I was convinced. I'm on your side. So basically it's one big state machine. And so I think I need to write that state machine. So I'm going to take a break, and then when I come back, we're going to go into Plant UML and create a state machine for our board. And I'll have to remember what the syntax is. But we're going to take a break first. And so enjoy the wonderful coffee break video, and I'll be back shortly. All right, and we're back. Yes, midnight coffee for those of you in that time zone. I gotta say, you're adults, so you can do whatever you want, but I do feel a little bad, like that it's really late for y'all in UTC plus time zones. All right, so let's go. We'll create we'll call it board state machine. I haven't noticed it taking up full CPU. But I haven't been paying attention to the CPU. Is that on an M123 processor or Intel? Why are you showing me this usage? That's why. M1. I wonder if there's a regression of some sort. Speaking of IntelliJ, I have some announcements that I'll be making around some giveaways around IntelliJ. So IntelliJ, where is it? Here it is. So IntelliJ's JetBrains started this content creators program. And so one of the things they're going to offer is some giveaways. And so I'll have to figure out how I want to give them away, but things like 1-year licenses for an IDE. So stay tuned for that. All right. So let's get back to here. Okay, so let's create a state machine. So we'll do start UML, end UML. Two dashes, and that's one thing. Not sure what this first state is, but I guess it's let's see. I'm not going to deal with composite states just yet. That's what I want to do. Not what should ID do? What should it do? So that's basically this tile, the first tile. So that's what should it do. So let's create all our tiles. So we've got how do, technically this is how will you know. I changed some of the language. I have not updated my physical board yet. I'm going to call this what. So you start off with what, and to transition from what to how, how do I indicate the transition? It's after the colon. So to go from what to how, you discard card. Discard any card. Discard any action card. To start, you basically join game. I realize this didn't have to be one thing. And to go to the next one, it's going to be similar. So the next state is write code for test as for test. So to go from how to for test, not text. Old habits die hard. Here, one exit is play write code card. The other way to exit, and you don't go to for test, you actually go to for feature, is you basically get some cycle risk. So let's add for feature. This is going to be write code for feature. So let's see. So if we do it this way, the state machine is associated with each player. So we start them in a specific state, which is basically when they join the game, they're on this tile. And when we receive a command from them, the only thing we can get from them, at least that changes the state, is discarding a card. There's another mini state machine or some other thing that we're tracking, which is how many cards did you discard. So the definition of a turn in this game is you play or discard 3 cards. The jump from here, write code for test, to here, write code for feature and taking on risk is actually not a turn, is not something that eats up any aspect of your turn, which is something I need to clarify in the instructions. All right, so once you're in for test, you can go to predict fail to compile. And the way you do that, so this one is a bit more complicated. This one is what did I say? As predicted. So this is the test results, and that will depend on some other mechanisms. So you have to play a predict card, which requires you to have played a write code card. So there's some prerequisites for this state, and so definitely there's a composite or substate going on here. So let's see if we can work that out. So this is prediction succeeds. But that's not as direct. This is prediction successful. But you actually can't directly get there. So how do we do substates? It's not a fork join, it's just a substate. Okay. So that's I don't know what to call it. I'm going to call it predict for now. So within this state, I think the whole state is basically what tie you're on, which is the predict fail to compile. Fail to compile. And so inside of this, so these are just more states. I think this is, oops. So I think there's, so you basically enter this state. The next thing you have to do that will move you along is you play a write code card. God, these autocompletes are really annoying. Playwright code card. Except that's not what gets you to this state. Actually, what gets you to this state is... Oh, we had to already play... No, this is correct. Actually, in order to get from here to here, you do have to play the right code card. So, so this is wrong. This is really the substate. How do I represent that? So let's see. So how you know I did it? You play... Oh, that's wrong. Discarding this... that's why I was confused. So this isn't play write code card. This is discard any action card. Right. So start out here, you discard any card. You end up here. To get to the next step, you discard any card. And you're basically in this state. So let's comment that out for a second. And this is write code for test. Sometimes using a drawing program would make this easier because I know what I want to say. I just don't know how to express it yet. So we go from here, from how you know you did it, to here is discard any card. When you're in this state, you're actually in a substate. So this is the substate. That's what's going on. So for test is actually the substate because we haven't gotten into the predict yet. And you start out in in wait for write to code. And then you go from here to predict fail to compile when you play write code card. Okay. Gee. Yeah, that's right. So you discard a card, it's discarded a card, you end up here. You discard a card, you end up in this state. You're in wait for write to code. So one way you get out, this one is wrong. So one way to exit is this way. The other way to exit is if you add 3 cycle risk. Yeah, I wish you could help me type 2. I also wish this would format it differently. Okay, so the next substate is for feature. And we start out in I guess it's also wait for write code. And so wait for write code, if you write code, then we are now in wait for predict. I'd love for you to format these more top to bottom. Can I do top to bottom? Can I force it more top to bottom? Wonder if I set the width, if that will help. Let's try that. No, that just makes it zoom. All right, that's good enough. Yeah, these wait for write code cards are actually different. So let's call this one I'll just call this 1 for now. And this is 2. Yeah. Right, so if you are in the write code for test tile, there are 2 ways to exit. And this is not for feature. This is predict fail compile. Because for feature is tile number 6. Remember there being a top, bottom, left, right? Let's take a look. Oh, the down thing. So let's try that. Playwright code card. See? Do I need another dash? There we go. Thank you. Again, it's like totally forgot that existed. So what should it do? Discard. How do you know? How will you know? Did it discard? Now we're in write code for test. There are two ways out. One is add 3 cycle risk. Now you're at write code for feature. Otherwise, you play the write code card. You are now in predict test will fail to compile. Right. So we are now here. And there are 2 ways to exit. One is +2 risk, and the other way is test fails as expected. So wait for predict. I'll call it 2 for now. To the next tile, which is test compiles. And the way you do that is prediction successful. The other way to exit, which is from write for write code 2, and I'm gonna have to rename these, to for feature, is add 2 cycle risk. Yeah, I'll figure out the orientation after, but I realize there is a difference between the single dash and the double dash. That's where I was getting confused. Right. So you can go from technically from write code for test to write code for feature by adding 3 cycle risk. Here we can add 2 cycle risk to get there, except I think the source is basically the outer state. So let's try that. Yeah, that makes more sense. And so this one is the outer state. Yeah. Because you don't do anything here. So discard, playwright code card, what gets us here, or we can add cycle risk. So once we're in here, this one's a bit more complex. So we have to write code, then it's wait for predict, which should be wait for predict 2. Once we're in wait for predict 2, that's not right. It has to be you play the right code card, now you got to play a predict card. And so now you're waiting for wait for Okay, so that's right. So you come in, we wait for the right code card, you play it. Now we're waiting for you to play a predict card. You play the predict card. Now we're waiting for a successful prediction. That's when our random number generator says yes or no. And if prediction is successful, then you go to the next step. If it is not successful, you end up back at wait for predict 2. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I guess it's wait for test results, actually. That's what's called in the game. There we go. Right, so there's this sort of loop here that you wait to play predict card, you play the predict card, you wait for the test results. If the prediction fails, you will now have to play another predict card. So in that case, you discard all of your in-play cards. In this case, you discard your predict card. Okay. Whew. There we go. So the number of less code cards played, less code cards aren't required. They don't change the state. They just will affect whether the prediction is successful or not. So that's more of when we randomize the prediction outcome, that will depend on the number of less code cards. So technically there is I mean, we could put it in, or we could just sort of ignore it. There is, when you've played right code cards, so you're waiting for predict, you could do a wait for predict and go back to wait for predict by playing a less code card. Since you end up in the same state, I don't think the state machine doesn't care. But it does mean that it's explicit that that's allowed. You can't play any other card. You can discard cards at any time. You don't have to play anything. Yeah. So basically, whether it's successful, whether your prediction is successful or not, depends on both a random number generator and therefore then how many less code cards you've played. So once you're out of predict test will fail to compile, now we're in write code so test compiles. It's going to be a very similar Can I reuse substates? Because that's what I'd like to do here. It's pretty much this, almost exactly the same set of substates. I guess I'll just copy and paste. Oh, that's interesting. So I guess DRLU is short for downright, like that's what it documents here, but you can also use the single letters. Yeah, too bad there isn't a refactor. All right, so let's go delete this stuff. So the next state then is state test compiles, which is basically this, except this is add 1 cycle risk. That's all 3. Yeah, I know that's what you said earlier. I didn't realize that. I'm used to using the D. I didn't realize that it was actually documenting the full word here and not the shortcut letter. I don't know why you'd use the full word there. Let's make this a little bigger. I would like so this is test compiles. This is not test compiles. This is predict test will fail. Which is different from fail to compile. So that's what this one is going to. There we go. And that's the next state, which is... this one is similar, except you can't exit by taking on risk. And then the next step is for feature. It's too bad that these things aren't scoped to the state, the substate that it's in. That would make this easier, but I'll rename these later. All right, I'm going to take this out because I'm just going to let it zoom naturally. So let's see. Yeah, cool. So you can add 3 risk here, or you can add 2 risk here, or you can add 1 risk here, and those all end up at write code for feature. Each of these steps are similar. No, this one is wrong. I knew something was not right. So the write code so test compiles is actually more like this one. So yes, you can exit by adding 1 cycle risk. We wait for write code, and actually we exit immediately to predict test fail, and then the rest of this goes away. Right. because this one is very much like this one. So there's an exit where you play the right code card, and then there's the exit where you're in the prediction process. And so then actually the next state is very similar to that. The next state is for feature. And where you go next when you play the right code card is predict test passes. And there's no early exit from that. That one's very straightforward. The state diagram's getting bigger and bigger. There you go. Now we can fit it all on one page. So you play right code, you're in here, you're going through the typical predict. You can only exit when prediction is successful. Now we're in right code for feature. The way you exit here is you play right code card. Now you're in the state of predict test passes. And while you're in this state, now we're sort of back to this mode. This isn't wait for write code. This is wait for predict. I think I got that wrong everywhere. Yeah. Need a bigger monitor. So I think I made the same mistake here. So predict fails to compile. You had already played the right code. Yeah, okay. So that's this. Actually, that's this. So this is wait for predict. And then that goes away. Is that right? So we enter predict test will fail to compile. I can make this bigger. I'm not sure that how much that will help. So we discard any action, write code for test. We wait for write code. The way we exit is we play write code. We enter by waiting for a predict. If we play less code, we're still back at waiting for predict. We play the predict card, and now we're waiting for test results. So this is fine. This is similar to the other one. This is similar to the other one. So this play for write code is wrong. Oh, that's interesting. It did a search. It's actually the wrong one. It's actually not that one. Predict test will fail. That's this one. Wait for predict. That's this. Okay. Do I need the composite states? Probably not, actually. Write code so test compiles. Right, because there is one action that, yeah, I actually don't. So let's start with this one. So write code for test 1. We don't need the subtest. So it's for test. And so you basically go to for feature by adding cycle risk. Or oh, I don't need state here. There we go. So let's see. So how does that look? What happened to the... Oh, because I misspelled test. Right. So now you've got two options. You can either go the long way or go the quick way, the risky way. Yes, much better. All right, so let's fix up the other one. The other one's going to look pretty much the same. It's basically test compiles. And then this is test compiles. Right. So we either test compiles goes directly there. Okay. And then this one, write code for feature. This one is pretty much just predict passes. That's how you exit. And then predict passes, that's the prediction process, which is pretty much that. So it turns out I've observed people, because of course the game offers that option, so people will try out the risky route, and it will actually push them ahead pretty quickly for a little while. Eventually, it comes back to haunt you. And they have then learned by seeing the other people who took the safe route start to pass them. But in the short run, risk, totally worth it. Oh, Xproof, sorry, I didn't see your question earlier. So there's the Spring repository, and then there's the adapter. So unfortunately, Spring names their stuff repository, but really the repository is the name of a domain-driven design tactical pattern. So from my point of view, the port, it also is called repository, which I do agree is a little bit confusing, but there are two. One is the port definition. The other just happens to be a technical detail. It is kind of amazing, Suiji, how realistic that ends up feeling. And fodder for great discussion. And this is not for feature, this is commit code. The disappointment when you get to the commit code and you've got risk, and so you roll the dice and you basically have to revert everything and start over. Yeah, that's the naming of that stuff became very clear. I think when I was pairing with Mike the other day on this stuff. So I may be rethinking my port name for the repository since I can't change the other name. So we write code for feature. The only way to exit is you play the right code card. Predict test passes. That's not predict test passes. Yes, it is. I just didn't make the state here. So wait for predict, play less code, play the predict card, prediction successful, so now you're at commit code. This has some internal states. Actually, no, this does not have any external states. This has a choice that's made. Back to what? By doing if there's no risk, and you discard entire hand. Actually, I think there is a substate for this risk. Sweet asks, how often do I see people in the real world actually revert and start over instead of doubling down? Yeah, not nearly as much as they should. I have thought about basically for this tile, like I've had ideas for kind of a whole sub game that's around refactoring and trying to reduce risk and sort of spending more cards to try harder to get it to get the test prediction to work. That doesn't reduce risk, that may even increase risk. So there's some sort of stuff there that I've been toying with as sort of an extension, and sort of this would have like a whole sort of sub game, but not there yet. Hire more players, yeah. There is a variation of, instead of every player having their own pawn, that there's one pawn, and that's the mob programming variation, where now you've got one pawn that you're moving through, and then each player can basically push it a little bit further, and there's a sub variation of that where you can start trading cards. So there's some interesting variations that people have come up with, which has been a lot of fun. Shouldn't the substate machines end in an inner endpoint and then substate then point to the next state? Yeah, I don't know. Write code for test. Write code for tests. So let's make this down. That didn't work. See, this is the problem with the auto layout, is like you get this ridiculousness. And I'm like, why are you going from here all the way over to here? Why isn't, and I'm trying to push this one down, but it doesn't seem to be respecting the D. And then there's this one that's going wee all the way over here. Yeah, haha, very funny, Astrid. I don't think that would matter. Certainly not for this one. Wait for test results 2. I'm going to push this to be D. That doesn't seem to matter. I feel like it's no longer paying attention to what's going on. Wait, oh. Yeah, so this all happened because basically this is one circular state machine and it's not recognizing that. Because like this is the entry point into the system. This is the first tile. Maybe I can do you? There we go. Now I've told it, no, I want that one to go up. That's better. Yeah. So, there we go. Okay, that's too small. I think that's it. There's some substates around this part where if you do have risk, you go into a substate where, well, it's not a substate, it's just another state where you have to roll the die. Hey, D Sol SP. Yes, this is plant UML. So I'm describing the diagram, state machine diagram, using text instead of trying to draw stuff by hand. So there is evaluate risk substate. And how do I do conditional? Yeah, I'm going to be ending the stream soon, and I appreciate that it's very late for you, so thanks for hanging out. Get some sleep. I'm going to do this last thing, and then I'm going to end it for today. So let's make our choice. And then we say die roll goes to what rolls less than or equal to risk. No. That. That should be evaluate risk. Is that what I want? So we go to evaluate risk. Okay, how do I do the choice again? Request ID goes to the thing that we call choice, right, which is evaluate risk. You know what? So then it's the thing I call choice, which is evaluate risk, goes to somewhere, colon, and then there's this one. Oops. I think that's right. Evaluate risk has to go. No, evaluate risk. Yeah, something has to point there. What am I missing? Request ID points to the choice thing. So request ID points to C. I've got commit code. Oh, that's what it's supposed to be. So either we go back to the first tile if you have no risk, or we go and evaluate risk if you have risk. So let's see. Right. So if you have risk, we evaluate the risk. And the way we evaluate the risk is you roll a die. And if... Can I put a comment here? I guess it's just... your roll is less than or equal to risk, revert and start over. Oh, the tilted square went away. What happened? Is this not right? To have risk. Yeah, this should have been right. Yeah, I probably do need to put it earlier. Yeah. Thank you. Right, so have risk, now we make the choice. And the choice is, if the roll is risk, then risk. I mean, we're always going back to the start, but different things happen as an outcome. If your roll is greater than risk, then it's basically... Is it another state? I guess we'll see. But it's basically that. So if your roll is less than risk, you revert and start over. Otherwise, if it's greater than risk, then you add 1 to commit points. There's one other step in something, but I think that's going to be enough for now. So that's it. I think that's the whole thing. Whoops. There it is. It's very tiny. I think write code for feature, I can probably write code for feature, play write code card. I think if I do R, That helps a little bit. That's interesting. It didn't go to the right. It went to the left. It is R, right? Oh, I guess I could just do that. That's weird. It's like this arrow right here, which goes from here to here, and I'm saying right, and it's not doing it. I don't get it. How about right tests if we do this one to be also right? No? No, its algorithm must be overriding it somewhere else. Yeah, it's overwhelmed. The right code for test when it does add cycle 3 cycle risk. How about I delete that and make it right? No, that's not doing it either. Yeah, I'll change the numbered ones later on. I think it's good enough. I would just like it not to. I would like it to go right. This is where I want to just drag and drop it, and I can't. Because I'd like this right code for test to go to predict now passes to also be right. This I'd like to be right. Right code so test compiles. So add 1 cycle risk. What happens if I add an R here? Nothing. Well, that did something. Is that better? Kinda. That's a little better. You still believe in inner endpoints? Well, I'm gonna this will be available, so feel free to give me some ideas on what that would look like. Yeah, I don't generate a ping. I just add the POML file to the repo, and then because if I add the ping, then it's out of date. As soon as I generate it, it's out of date. You can always just look at it. I mean, yes, it does mean that if you look at it on so I forget if GitHub supports plant UML. It does support mermaid syntax, which is very close. I wonder if mermaid has better layouts. I'll have to try that. Yeah, I don't know if GitHub renders it. Honestly, I don't. For this project, I don't care because nobody's going to be looking at this there. If they want to look at, you can open it up in plant UML. I might try to convert it to mermaid and see what that looks like. Maybe I can get its algorithm to be tweaked a little bit nicer, because what I want is what I want is this one like further to the right. But now I'm bike shedding. All that matters is that it's correct, which I believe it is. It's annoying that this is now over here and crosses in the crossover. So I'd like to minimize these crossovers. So if I go back to that, is that better? That looks worse. So I could remove all of the sort of the formatting, let it do it on its own, and then tweak it after, which is what I said I was going to do before, and I ended up not doing that. All right, that's good enough for now. So I don't like that the entry point is here. That's my biggest problem. But I'm more than done for today. All right. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the help. Appreciate all the questions and suggestions. For those of you in Europe, you should be asleep by now. If not, go to sleep. And tomorrow, I don't think I'll have a pairing stream, so I think I'll basically do another solo stream and pick it up from here. And yeah, that's it. So thank you for hanging out, and hope to see you on a future stream. Bye.